Hey, what's up, everybody? Jimmy Smith back for the post-fight breakdown. Frankie Edgar versus Pedro Munoz. I wasn't able to do a pre-fight for this, my picks and everything. I had a really busy week. My life's about to get a lot busier. There should be an announcement this week. I can't make it by myself, of course. So, anyway, I will definitely make more of an effort in the next few weeks to keep up with the channel and make sure you guys get content from me, even though I'm about to get a lot busier. Anyway, let's start at the bottom of the card. It was Daniel Rodriguez versus Dwight Grant. This was a great fight. For those of you that didn't see it or tuned in late, man, check it out. Basically, Grant dropped Rodriguez early, almost finished him with ground and pound. There were a couple moments where a ref would have been completely justified jumping in and stopping it. And Rodriguez able to bounce back, able to get back to his feet, and once he did, he hurt Grant, rocked him on his feet, and then finished him. It was an amazing comeback, great round, early candidate for, not early candidate, we're late through the year, but candidate for round of the year, excellent stuff, back and forth. The one issue that I want to bring up in a fight like this is I want to see a referee give both fighters an equal opportunity to come back. Meaning, Rodriguez got a ton of opportunities to come back, and he capitalized on it. He did. The referee was right in not stopping the fight. He was able to come back and able to hurt Grant and finish him. The ref didn't give Grant that kind of time. As soon as Grant was in trouble, and he dropped, and it was a good stoppage. I'm not complaining about the stoppage. My point is, you got to have it both ways. You didn't stop it when the other guy dropped. You gave him some time, and I thought Grant didn't get the time Rodriguez got. There was a fight a long time ago in Bellator where a guy named Dan Kramer fought. And I forget who his opponent was, but Kramer was beating the piss out of this guy for 2 rounds, just smashing him. And the guy just kept hanging tough, and there were some stoppable moments for sure. Ref didn't stop it, and then Kramer got rocked, never dropped, but he was on his feet, and he was rocked, and the ref went at him, boom, 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 boom. The fighter went at him, and the ref stops the fight. And afterward, he was an ATT guy. I was talking to Conan Silveira, and he goes, what'd you think of that stoppage? I go, the stoppage itself, all by itself, was good. Kramer was clearly hurt. He was out on his feet, da-da-da. My problem is he gave his opponent a ton of opportunities and didn't give Kramer that opportunity. The stoppage alone wasn't bad. It was, well, why'd you give this guy 2 rounds of beating, or however long it was pretty long. And yet, as soon as Kramer's rocked, you stop it. And Conan goes, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he was hurt. But, he gave the other guy a round and a half of ass whooping, and my guy gets 15 seconds. And I was like, yeah, no, so that's the problem. So the only issue I had with that fight is Rodriguez got a lot of time to recover, and Grant didn't. So you gotta play it both ways, in my opinion. But great fight, great round. Shayna Dobson, Maria Agapova. Dodson, I was trying to remember, because obviously, I broke this down for ESPN on Sunday, the morning after, and I was trying to remember the last time a fighter with a losing record won in the UFC. There are a lot of fighters with even records. Brock Lesnar, for example, at the time. Yeah, you have to go back to the early days. You got to go back to early UFCs when guys, Tank Abbott, all right, guys who just, they'd throw anybody in there and they didn't care really what your record was. Guys came in 0-1 and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember in the modern era, and please, if any of you guys can think of anybody, in the modern era, meaning not early UFCs, the tournament days, of somebody coming in winning with a losing record in MMA. You can obviously lose a record in the UFC. That happens all the time. But a losing record, I can't remember anybody in the modern era. Happened all the time in Japan. In the UFC. I can't. So this is a huge upset that a fighter with a losing record came in there and got the knockout. But tactically, the issue is Agapova put everything into the first round. She went in there like, I'm going to blast this lady early. This is over. She really underestimated her. I don't listen to the commentary for these things because I find it distracting. But I was doing something where I had to turn on the volume for a second. And when I did, I heard Dominic Cruz go, man, Agapova's really going after her. It was like, man, she's really spending a lot of gas. And it was obvious she just did not respect Dobson at all, thought she was going to blow her out of the water. Problem is, she ran out of gas in the second round and gave up an easy sweep. And as soon as Dobson was on top, Dobson. As soon as Dobson was on top, it was over. So that's the problem is, I mean, any opponent, you got to respect the fact that they're in the UFC. And the analogy I try to use is in the NFL, there are no bad players, right? Even the bench warmer is pretty good by comparison. That's how you have to see the UFC. Where, look, this person's in the UFC, and they must be at least decent to even be in here. So your camp has to be on point. Your tactics have to be on point. Everything has to be good because there are only two fights, easy fights and great opportunities, right? One guy's easy fight is another guy's great opportunity, or a gal in this case. So you have to keep that in mind at all times. And she just wasted too much energy in round one, and it cost her. So one of the biggest upsets, and I think in terms of betting odds, one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. Joe Salecki versus Austin Hubbard. Great rear naked choke. I love seeing that. Standing rear naked, which are pretty rare these days. A lot of fighters, if you look at it, are going to that. Renzo Gracie made it popular, where he laces the leg around in that waist cinch position and puts his foot behind the opposite kneecap. I know it's kind of complicated, but watch it again. Renzo Gracie made that. That was like his bread and butter takedown. Waist cinch, wrap the leg around, kick the opposite leg out, and fall to the ground. Well, he didn't fall to the ground. He was able to stand up, but it allows you to take your back. So it gives you a couple options jiu-jitsu-wise. Great job by Salecki getting that rear naked, and once it was underneath the chin, man, that squeeze was tremendous. Great stuff for him. Great submission guy. I think there's certainly a future for him. And also rear naked chokes, which is his preferred submission. What does that mean? You wear fighters down a lot. The rear naked, the guillotine to some degree as well, is one of those wear somebody down kind of submissions where you just work for it and work for it and work for it and finally you get it. It isn't a snap submission like a leg lock or something like that. It's about wearing an opponent down. If you're good at wearing opponents down, you have a good future in MMA. It's pretty simple, So I like the future for Salecki. Excellent job by him. Mike Rodriguez, Marcin Prachio, holy God. All right, the guy's a giant. Obviously, great range, great Muay Thai. That clinch work, really excellent because when you can land those short elbows inside the clinch where you don't get a lot of space, right? They're quick turning elbows and knock somebody out. That's real power. Usually elbows like that soften you up. They hurt, they suck, but rarely does a short elbow from that range knock somebody out. It can, but it shows you can generate a lot of power without a lot of space. And the thing is, with his build, where he's going to be at range a lot, and fighters are going to think, all right, I need to get inside. That's going to be their key to victory. If you can demonstrate inside power, a good example in boxing, Riddick Bowe. For people who remember Riddick Bowe, gigantic guy. A lot of range, was a good inside fighter for his size, which is crazy. Usually fighters with his build aren't. So fighters would think they could get inside, and he would end up tearing them up on the inside. He was a very good inside fighter, which is rare for a guy his size. Mike Rodriguez, same thing. Not only is the clinch, you assume he'd be good in the clinch, but those short elbows, those short strikes are typically difficult for a tall guy to use. And he got one on the temple for Prachio and dropped his ass. So that ability is going to serve him well because fighters are going to go, crap, well, I can't go on the outside because he's tall and long, great kicks. When I go on the inside, I'm going to end up in the clinch and get elbow to knee. It's almost that Anderson Silva effect where fighters would go, God, well, I can't beat him on the outside. Ah, crap, he's got a great clinch. What am I doing on the inside? So that's an excellent precedent to set, is you come into my clinch, I'm going to hurt you. Not just with the knees, which would you expect with a guy with long legs, but God, that elbow, absolutely vicious. But good future for him. Once again, first round knockout, great stuff. The main event, Frankie Edgar, Pedro Munoz. All right, so I was talking on ESPN with Chael Sonnen last week, and we brought up two things. He brought up, will Frankie Edgar have the speed advantage at 135 pounds? He's used to being the faster guy. Well, fighters are fast at 135. Yeah, you're a fast 55er, you're a fast featherweight. Are you really fast at 135? He proved he is. Immediately, I was like, God, he's quick. Pedro Munoz is a quick 35er, and he was getting pieced up by those combinations. Edgar was just super duper fast, and I was stunned at how quick he was at 35. My thought was the durability. Is he going to be able to walk through? He's used to walking through so much punishment at 45 and 55 with a real weight cut, where he might be more drained than he has been the previous fights in his career. Can he walk through the damage necessary to win fights like he always does? And he did. He walked through a ton of punches. Again, now, of course, it's a 35er. It's not a 45er or 55er. But Munoz has decent power, and with a real weight cut, would he be drained? And he wasn't. He walked through those shots and was able to provide a vintage, long, grueling, difficult, bloody, back-and-forth war. Those have been the hallmark of Frankie Edgar's career. So it was a very Frankie Edgar kind of fight. The scorecards were released for this, and other than one round, I think it was round 4, none of the judges were unanimous in any single round. That's incredible. No, the judges never agreed. All 3 judges agreed that the same fighter won a particular round. That's how close this fight. And I agree. I thought that fight was all over the place. Very, very tough to score. I thought Frankie won it. I gave him the first 3 rounds, but not by a lot. And then Munoz started coming back late, and Frankie started slowing down a little bit. And so people who are going to get on and say Pedro Munoz won, sure. I don't fault anybody, but just the way robbery gets thrown around, that's ridiculous. This is a very, very close fight in every way. And also at the end, when they show significant strikes, and I've said this before, significant strikes are not created equal. Some significant strikes are significant. Others are like, all right, 8 right hand, you're okay. Others are like, you don't know where the hell you are. So Frankie Edgar moving forward, he beat the number 5 guy, which immediately makes him a factor, especially with his history and all this stuff and his fan base. Everybody loves Frankie Edgar. The problem is the top 4 guys all have dance partners right now. So you have Sandhagen. He is taking on Marlon Moraes. You have Cody Garbrandt. He's going on 25 for the title. And Aljamain Sterling is probably fighting Peter Yan for the belt. So there's no date on that one yet. But there just isn't a dance partner in the top 4. And Frankie Edgar goes to war every freaking time he fights. He always goes 25 minutes. So it isn't worth it for him to have like a keep you busy kind of fight. All right, because it's another 25-minute commitment that's going to beat years off his career. That's just how the guy fights. So he's also not the kind of finisher that's like, all right, I'll take on this scrub and get an easy finish. He's not a great finisher. So it's like, God, man, I got to go through this again. It's not worth it right now. It really isn't, especially coming off a fight like this where it's not like you have a quick rebound. The smartest thing for him, I think, is wait to see how these fights shake out. Take 6 months off, recuperate, whatever it is, and get back in there with a fight that has some juice. I mean, he's maybe one fight away from a title shot, depending on who he fights and how the title fight shakes out and all these things. So the only other one, let's say it takes a little too long for these fighters to get new dance partners, I wouldn't mind a super fight between him and Dominic Cruz. I would really like to see that. 2 legends, 2, if not Mount Rushmore guys, right under that next level. I mean, they're all-time greats, first ballot Hall of Famers type guys who have long, difficult fights where it's about volume and movement. I mean, imagine the movement and speed of Dominic Cruz versus Frankie Edgar. I'd love to see that fight if Dominic Cruz would be interested in it. I don't know. So that's the only one I can think of that, let's say he can't get that top 4 guy or a title shot. I don't think he deserves a title shot off necessarily the fight he just had. I think he needs one more. If it looks like it's going to take a long time for that to shake out, that's the only other fight that I would find really appealing that might be worth, okay, I'll go through a 25-minute war to take on another legend and have that kind of fight. The fans, I think, would be very interested in. That's all I can think of, but great performance by Frankie Edgar. Great performance by Pedro Munoz. I don't think this takes him that far back. A couple more and he's right back in it. So great performance by both guys. Good to see Frankie Edgar get the win, and some big news coming up this week from me. All right, talk to you soon. Later.